The morning crowd in the little roadside diner was quiet, the soft clatter of plates and the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. Most of the customers were regulars, truck drivers, office workers, and retirees who came every day for the same seat and the same breakfast. In the corner booth near the window sat an elderly woman in a neat blue cardigan. Her silver hair was tied back, and her posture was straight, calm, and dignified. She stirred her coffee slowly, smiling politely at the young waitress who brought her toast. Everyone in the diner knew her as Mrs. Johnson. She didn't talk much, but she was always kind. Sometimes she paid for a stranger's meal. Sometimes she left generous tips even when she barely ordered anything herself. She was the kind of person you noticed without really knowing why. The bell above the door rang, and the peaceful atmosphere shifted. A tall, loud man in an expensive suit walked in, talking on his phone. He didn't look around or greet anyone. He just snapped his fingers at the waitress and demanded the booth by the window. "That's my seat," Mrs. Johnson said gently, not even raising her voice. "I've been sitting here for years." The man rolled his eyes. "I don't care how long you've been here. Move." The waitress looked nervous. "Sir, there are other empty booths." "Maybe. I said I want this one," he barked. Then he turned to Mrs. Johnson again. "Get up." She slowly lifted her eyes to him. "Young man, respect costs nothing. Sit somewhere else." A few customers glanced over, sensing the tension. The man's face turned red. Without warning, he raised his hand and slapped the old woman across the face. The sound echoed through the diner. Coffee cups froze midair. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Mrs. Johnson didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply turned her head back, adjusted her glasses, and sat quietly, her eyes calm but disappointed. The waitress gasped, "Sir, you need to leave right now." But the man just scoffed and slid into the booth. "Call whoever you want. I'm not going anywhere." Just then, the bell above the door rang again. 3 men in dark suits walked in. They weren't loud, but their presence filled the room. The customers went silent. The men's eyes scanned the diner until they landed on Mrs. Johnson. The man in front, tall and sharply dressed, walked straight toward her. His expression changed the moment he saw her cheek. "Ma," he said softly, "who did this?" Mrs. Johnson looked up at him with a small, tired smile. "It's nothing, sweetheart, just a rude man who forgot his manners." The suited man's eyes slowly moved toward the bully sitting in the booth. The room felt colder somehow. Even the air seemed heavier. The bully smirked. "What, is this your son? Tell him to mind his business." The man in the suit stepped closer, his voice calm but firm. "You raised your hand against my mother." "So what?" the bully replied. "You going to do something about it?" One of the regulars whispered to another. "That's him. That's Mr. Rossi." The name spread through the diner like electricity. Even the waitress's eyes widened. Mr. Rossi leaned down slightly, his gaze never leaving the bully. "You have no idea what you just did." For the first time, the bully's confidence cracked. "Look, I didn't know who she was." Rossi's voice stayed low. "That's the problem. You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with respect." The room was so quiet you could hear the hum of the refrigerator behind the counter. Mrs. Johnson reached out and touched her son's arm. "Antonio, let it go. I don't want trouble in this place. These people have always been kind to me." Rossi looked at her, and the hardness in his eyes softened. He nodded slowly. Then he turned back to the bully. "You're going to apologize," he said. The bully swallowed hard. I'm sorry. Not to me," Rossi replied. "To her." The man stood up, his hands shaking slightly. He faced Mrs. Johnson. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that." She looked at him for a long moment, then she nodded. "I hope you remember this day. Kindness is a choice." Rossi placed some cash on the table, far more than the cost of any meal in the diner. "For the trouble," he told the waitress. As he helped his mother stand, the bully quickly grabbed his coat and rushed toward the door. No one stopped him. Before leaving, Rossi turned back to the room. "Take care of her," he said quietly to the staff. The waitress nodded. "We always do." The door closed behind them, and the tension slowly melted away. Customers began to talk again, but the story of that morning would stay with them for years. Because in the end, it wasn't the power or the fear that left the biggest impression. It was the quiet strength of an elderly woman who didn't need revenge, only respect.